Good evening. The Conejo Valley Unified School District Board of Education regular board meeting of November 5th, 2025 will please come to order. Pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act, this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public, and only items on the agenda will be discussed this evening. We invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and following the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor the life and service of Westlake Hills Elementary teacher Shelby Balsley. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2C, the board is adjourning from closed session where the following item permitted by law was considered. With regard to agenda item 1B, there is no announcement at this time pursuant to Government Code Section 54957-1, subdivision A5. I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting and would like to make the following announcements. The board values your input on the important education matters we face. Therefore, the district is providing multiple opportunities for public participation. Public viewing is available through internet live stream on the CVSD website. Please note the different opportunities to provide public or written comments to the Board of Education, and they can be found on the main page of the board agenda. Members of the public wishing to submit a written comment have the option to email their comments to sfellman@conejousd.org by 3 p.m. today. Board members were provided with these written comments prior to this meeting. Persons wishing to address the board in person should fill out a blue speaker's card and hand it to Mrs. Fellman at the secretary's desk. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, please turn in your card prior to that item section of the agenda. If the school district business you wish to speak about is not on the agenda, please turn in your card before the public comment section of the agenda. If you intend to donate time to another speaker, please hand in both speaker cards at the same time to Mrs. Fellman. If you wish to register your concern but not speak at the podium, please fill out a yellow public statement form and turn it in at the secretary's desk. Board members will be provided with these statements after the board meeting. Please be advised that a recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast for a live stream audience, and the recording and broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Smoking is not permitted in this building or anywhere on district property. Copies of the agenda are available on the table in the board lobby, and please silence all mobile phones. Item 2D, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
President Powell,
Yes, Trustee Kearns.
I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. Trustee Kearns.
Yes.
Trustee Gill.
Yes.
Trustee Goldberg.
Yes.
Trustee Gorback.
Yes.
Trustee Sylvester.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0 with a preferential yes vote from Trustee Kearns. We're now to item 2E, our reports from our student reporters that we get once a month. First of all, do we have Harrington? Hi, you're subbing today. Welcome. It's great to see you. From Century Academy, you can go on up and give your report.
Good evening, President Powell, Dr. McLaughlin, members of the board, and district administration. My name is Harrington Gwynn. I will be filling in for Selena Smith tonight, and I'm happy to provide you with updates and highlights from the month of October, looking ahead into November. October was an extremely busy month for Century, with the end of the first quarter, progress reports coming out, and a very successful earthquake drill and Halloween event. Students have been working hard to stay on track at Century Academy. Our quarter progress reports our quarter progress reports coming out were confirmed on October 21st, and we are doing our best to stay on track through the end of the fall semester. On October 16th at 10:16 a.m., a campus-wide earthquake drill was conducted in conjunction with the statewide Great Shakeout. All of our students, from the little ones to the high schoolers, did an amazing job with this drill, followed the process, and created a safe environment for our staff and students on the Century campus. Our big event for this fall happened last Thursday. formerly known as the Trunk or Treat, our Halloween event featured fun activities, games, prizes, and food for families who participated. We even had a fake sword fight that some of our students participated in. A big thank you goes out to our amazing ASG students who volunteered their time to help during the event, as well as a big thank you to our staff who set up tables and provided games and activities for our families. Our ASG students dressed up as minions for the event. Our latest school-wide fundraising event happened on Monday at Dave & Buster's. Between the power card purchases and the families who attended DNB on Monday, we had over $300 raised for our ASG and for our campus. Don't miss our next event on December 9th at both Chipotle and Handel's Ice Cream at the Oaks Mall. Any support you can give our school would be greatly appreciated and really help our school. In conclusion, we're looking forward to a strong month of November. ASG is currently preparing for the Winter Spirit Week. More info on this in the December report. Also, we will be announcing our Students of the Quarter in the next few days. We had 6 amazing students earn this achievement for their attendance, work production, and positive attitudes. Thank you for your support of Century on behalf of all of our students. Wishing you a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Is Charlie Huber here? I didn't see her. Okay. We're going to go on to Thousand Oaks High School, Caden Studebaker.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board, Dr. McLaughlin, and district personnel. My name is Caden Studebaker, and I'm the ASB Vice President at Thousand Oaks High School, and I'm happy to share our November board report on behalf of our school. This fall has been full of connection and community at Thousand Oaks High School. One of our most exciting new initiatives is the launch of our Thousand Oaks High School / Wildwood Elementary Activities Partnership. In an effort to strengthen the bond between our high school and feeder elementary schools, ASB created the Mission Possible program. Each month, TOHS students will bring Wildwood a new activity or challenge to present at their pep rallies. This month, we delivered 5 giant paper turkeys with feathers for every student to write what they're thankful for. The Wildwood students love the activity, and we're excited to continue this partnership throughout the year. Our fall sports seasons have been officially wrapped up, and we cannot be prouder of our teams. Football, girls volleyball, boys water polo, cross country, girls tennis, field hockey, and girls flag football all represented TOHS with hard work, sportsmanship, and Lancer pride. Many of our teams finished strong in league play, and several advanced to the CIF competition. The dedication of our athletes, coaches, and families continues to shine as a defining part of our school spirit. We also recently held our freshman class elections, officially welcoming the class of 2029 into leadership. The participation was outstanding, with more than 75% of freshmen casting ballots. It was great to see our newest Lancers so engaged and eager to make their mark on campus. Throughout October, our campus celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month with lunchtime games in the quad every Friday, hosted by our Latino Connection Club. These events brought students together for music, games, and cultural appreciation in a fun and inclusive way. We also recognized Unity Day with a lunchtime activity that promoted kindness and connection among students, helping to reinforce our commitment to a positive campus culture. Finally, we closed out our October month with our annual Rivalry Spirit Week, leading up to the Conejo Classic football game against Newberry Park High School. Both schools shared themed dress-up days and celebrated the friendly competition that brings our community together each year. It was an exciting week full of spirit, pride, and positive energy. Thousand Oaks High School continues to thrive through collaboration, inclusion, and Lancer pride. Thank you for your continued support of our school.
Thank you. Next up, we have Angeline Pinn from Conejo Valley High School.
Good evening, President Powell, Dr. McLaughlin, members of the board, and district administration. The Dragons have been a busy bunch during this last month. Just after my last report, we finished Hispanic Heritage Month with a piñata, and surprisingly enough, we had a few more students participate than last year. It was filled with Mexican candies, and it was a big hit with the students. On October 17th, we finished quarter 1. In the last month, we have had several students graduate. Congratulations to all of them for their hard work. We'll miss them, but we're very proud of their accomplishments. We've so far had 17 new students join us this quarter, and the numbers keep growing. It is always nice to welcome new Dragons to our school. Two of the leadership students, Alexis and Mia, have been working to create our senior hallway. They are really focusing on making the senior year special. It's filled with bulletin boards showing the fun activities seniors have been doing, as well as capturing a handprint of every senior here. Halloween was a really big focus of October. Thanks to Next Gen, Rotary, and Anthem Church, we had a really fun pumpkin decorating contest. There are a lot of creative ideas, from Grimace to Jason from Friday the 13th. We are thankful to Miss Harrison, Mrs. Judd, Mr. Gorback, Dr. Powell, Miss Goldberg, and Mr. Liu, and Finn for coming out and helping us judge. The winners were Most Creative, Cassie with the Cauldron. Spookiest was a tie between numbers 15 and 17, Desiree and Paisley. Most Artistic, a category added that day, went to Carmen, pumpkin number 4, and I won for Cutest Pumpkin. Last week, we finished October with Spirit Week. Monday was Pajama Day. Tuesday was Generation Swap, where the students dressed like teachers and the staff dressed like students. I definitely think the staff had more fun with this one than we did. Wednesday was Adam Sandler Day, and Thursday was just the style of the year you were born, and Friday, of course, was Halloween dress-up day. Our Halloween was extra special. For the first time ever, we had lunchtime trick-or-treating. Students went all around the school to all the staff members and trick-or-treated. It was a fun way to end the week, and it was extra special because some of our students never had the chance to trick-or-treat before. Teachers and other staff all commented on how much fun they had getting to pass out candy to all of us. We had another successful blood drive on Thursday the 30th. We appreciate the participation from everyone who joined us and helped us save lives. Our inventory was low on our dragon dresser, but thanks to several recent donations of clothing, hygiene supplies, and other items, we are back in action at CVHS. We will also plan to set up our clothing at the next Adelante food share on November 22nd and start at the start of Thanksgiving break. With that, I hope you all have a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. I know I'm thankful that I get to spend the rest of my senior year here, and I look forward to representing again next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Fiona Mercer from Westlake High School.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board and community members. I hope you all had a spooktacular 3-day Halloween weekend. My name is Fiona Mercer, a representative from Westlake High School, and I am back to give you a very exciting report of what has been going on at our school. To start, on October 11th, our Westlake tour group held a tour for the very first graduating class of Westlake High School. It was so cool to see our alumni's reactions to how the school has changed since 1980. On the same day, Westlake's dance teams hosted Dancing with the Warrior Stars, where it was a dance competition between different groups of students at our school. The event was filled with a very special performance by our Westlake High School teachers, including Miss Raffanelli, Miss Griffin, Miss Yu, Miss McPauley, Miss Beckwith, Coach Chadwick, and my personal favorite, Mrs. Modolo. A big thank you to our celebrity judges, Andrew Whitworth, Carissa Thompson, Aaron Donald, and Lyndon Apostle, for being our judges and giving great feedback. After the judges scored the dance groups, the audience was able to participate by voting on who they think should receive first, second, and third place. A big congratulations to boys basketball for winning the whole event and bringing home the big trophy for a second year in a row. October 14th, our band department had a very successful concert and they all sounded amazing. Westlake also celebrated Kindness Day on October 15th by giving out bracelets with kind messages on them to pass on the message of how a person's kind word can make a difference. On this day, we also reminded our warriors that Kindness Day is every day, on and off campus. October 17th was Breast Cancer Awareness Day, and we are so grateful to see so many students showed up at our school, as well as football game in pink to spread awareness. Speaking of football, I am so proud to say that Westlake High School varsity football is the state of California to have such a big comeback of going from 0 to 10 last year to 10 to 0 this year. We are rooting for our Warriors to bring home a big win at the playoffs this Friday. These are the CIF playoffs in action on campus this week. Today we have girls tennis playing Yorba Linda. Tomorrow we have boys water polo playing Harvard Westlake. On Friday we have football playing Villa Park. And on Saturday, girls flag football is playing Corona Del Mar. We want to give a huge thank you to the RISE Leadership Program for coming to Westlake and working with our students. I personally really appreciated everything about the experience. Not only did my schoolmates and I learn so much from that day, it was so sweet to see that when you are going through dark times, feeling like you are alone, you are never alone and there's always someone out there you can reach out to talk to. On the same day, our choir department also had a very successful fall concert, and our theme was Cover Me in Sunshine. We are so grateful for everyone who came to support us. Westlake also had the opportunity to host the unified sports game for students from Newberry, TO, and Westlake. It was so cool for me to see all of these students working together and helping each other. My favorite part was seeing the smiles on everyone's faces, and it was just so sweet to see such an amazing community of people being there to support our students. I was so fortunate to have been able to do the American Sign Language for the national anthem with some of my ASL peers. Obviously, Halloween was last Friday, and our office staff, as well as the school admin, went all out for decorations and dressing up this year. The theme was circus, and it was awesome to see our staff dressed as different characters you would see at a circus, but it was even cooler to see the office decorated like a circus. At lunch, we hosted our annual Halloween costume contest, which was a successful contest because we saw a variety of costumes. Before I close, I would like to give a huge shout out to our school psychologists for working so hard to always make sure our students are doing well. We really appreciate all that you do. That concludes my report. Thank you so much for your time, and as always, we're building our future the Warrior way. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. So just making sure we do not have a student reporter from Newberry Park High School tonight. Okay, thank you all so much for being here. We're moving on to item 2F, public comments. The CVUSD Board of Education wants to hear from students, parents, employees, and our community. All individuals have the right to provide public comments during our school board meetings under Government Code Section 549543. Comments regarding specific items listed on tonight's agenda must be made when that agenda item is called. If you wish to speak on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda, now is the time to provide your public comment. If you have not already done so and wish to speak, please hand in your blue card to Mrs. Fellman. Please note that if you have any materials to hand to board members, please provide those materials to Mrs. Fellman for distribution to the board. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the board cannot undertake any action or discussion on items not on tonight's posted agenda. However, members of the board or its staff may briefly reply to comments or questions posed by the public. Usually we will wait until the end of the public comment period before responding. As our meetings are held in public, your comments will be heard by those who are attending or watching a broadcast. In addition, the board encourages students to participate in civic affairs. Therefore, we hope that students are watching this meeting or in tonight's attendance. Please be mindful of that, and please make your comments factual and offer them in a respectful manner. In compliance with all applicable state and federal laws, the governing board strives to respect the privacy rights of students and employees during our meetings. This includes the right for the identities of students to remain confidential. We also ask that speakers be sensitive to our employees' legal rights to privacy and confidentiality. As a reminder, those requesting to speak at this time will speak on items that are not on the board agenda. Please note that speakers' cards will not be accepted once the board starts the public comments agenda item with the first speaker. Okay, we have 4 speaker cards tonight. Each public commenter will get 3 minutes at the podium, and our first public comment is Angela Liu.
Hello, esteemed members of the board. My name is Angela Liu, and I attend Westlake High School. I'm here to speak on behalf of Autism Society of Ventura County and their Advocacy Committee. The work of Autism Society is very close to my heart, as I have friends and family on the autism spectrum. I initially became familiar with the Autism Society of Ventura County through their annual Ought to Run event. Later, I've become more involved in organizing arts and crafts workshops for their teen girls meetups, and recently joined the advocacy committee. ASVC's mission is to create connections, empowering everyone in the autism community with the resources needed to live fully. In the committee, we focus on how communities, including schools, can be more inclusive. We encourage the celebration of diversity and work to ensure that every student has the tools they need to succeed. We believe it is essential that students with disabilities have access to the same programs and activities as their peers. As a student in the Conejo Valley Unified School District, I know firsthand how important it is for every student to feel safe, valued, and supported at school. That is why I'm passionate about advocating for all students to have the same opportunities as everyone else. I believe every student deserves the chance to succeed and to feel included. Advocacy is important to me because I feel that young people's voices really matter. We can all make a difference by speaking up and helping others. By sharing my voice tonight, I hope I can inspire others to do the same. Autism Society welcomes youth to join the advocacy committee and has plans to even begin advocacy clubs on campuses. I'd like to see CVUSD work with Autism Society of Ventura County to make this a reality on our campuses. Civic engagement is something all students should learn, since we are the future. I never read a district board agenda until I joined Autism Society's advocacy committee, and this is my first time delivering a public comment. What I'm learning through Autism Society will make me a more empowered and knowledgeable leader. Thank you for listening and for giving me the opportunity to share my perspective.
Thank you so much, Angela. And next up is Bill Zazadil.
Whoa, all right. Good evening. My name is Bill Zassadel, and I'm proud to say that I'm a school counselor at Redwood Middle School right here in the Conejo Valley Unified School District. I'm here tonight to express my sincere gratitude for the board's continued support and commitment to comprehensive school counseling services across our district, not only as a professional, but also as a dad of 3 young ones that are just starting their journey through CVUSD. Over the past 3 years, our partnership with Hatching Results has been a cornerstone of this transformation. Their outstanding professional development, we've established a foundation of data-driven practices that allow us to serve all students equitably while also identifying those who need us most. This shift has enabled counselors to move beyond reactive triage and firefighting and into proactive, intentional programming that aligns with the district's LCAP goals, student needs, and best practices in the profession of school counseling. A snapshot of what this looks like at the middle school level is that every middle school student in CVUSD now receives a full scope and sequence curriculum delivered in the classroom by their school counselor. These lessons cover critical areas such as peer relationships, self-regulation, executive functioning, strength identification, and career exploration, just to name a few. And this is not a patchwork of isolated efforts. It is a consistent, data-informed curriculum delivered with fidelity and in lockstep with every middle school counseling team. This is just the foundation of our practice now. It's what we refer to as Tier 1 supports, provided to all students. For students that require more support, we are building out and beginning to implement our stable of Tier 2 interventions to address student challenges in the areas of academics, attendance, and behavior. This data-driven approach has strengthened our ability to serve student populations outlined in our LCAP goals and site-specific SIPSAs, such as English language learners, students facing housing instability, which is unfortunately a quickly rising issue, and students with disabilities, among others. These student groups often face unique and outsized challenges, and your support has allowed us to meet those challenges with best practice. Our early returns on these interventions have been overwhelmingly positive, seeing reductions in absence rates of 22% for cohorts last year. In academics, our interventions resulted in consistent year-over-year gains in GPA of over 50%, or the equivalent of 0.8 GPA points, essentially an entire letter grade. of improvement on average. That is an astounding improvement. None of this progress would be possible without your investment in our comprehensive school counseling program. We are working very hard to capitalize on that investment, and we are just scratching the surface of what is possible. Thank you for your support, and we are excited to share more of these immense victories for our students with you in the future.
Thank you. Next up is Lorena Martinez.
All right. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Lorena Martinez, and I have the honor and privilege of being an elementary counselor for the past 13 years here in Conejo Valley. I currently work at Glenwood Elementary, and today I'm here highlighting the amazing work that our elementary counselors do at the elementary level. Thank you for the opportunity for letting me speak today, and we believe that the elementary counseling program is a vital component of our district. Its profound benefits provide our students and families a sense of community and support. At the elementary level, students are laying the foundation for their academic skills and success, and also their social and emotional development that will impact their entire lives. At a comprehensive counseling program ensures that our young learners receive the support they need to thrive in all areas. First, I'd like to address the impact our elementary counseling program that focuses on helping students foster a social and emotional learning component. For example, last year, all 19 elementary schools were able to receive an emotional regulation lesson that teaches students how to identify their emotions and recognize signs in their body and their mind, as well as developing healthy coping strategies to manage their emotions. Students at the elementary level are learning how to manage their emotions by learning how to take deep calming breaths, using positive self-talk, as well as various fidgets to help them regulate their bodies and emotions. It's an amazing feeling when you go out to recess as an elementary counselor and the student comes to you and says, Ms. Martinez, I used one of your calming strategies. Or when you have a parent call and say, we love your newsletters that you send out monthly with all the tips that we have been using at home. Or when a teacher shares that the skills that you have been showing the student are being used in the classroom. Second, our elementary counseling program directly supports our academic achievement. Counselors work closely with teachers and families to identify barriers early, such as anxiety, learning challenges, or family stressors, and intervene before these issues negatively impact their academic progress. With the support of our intervention counselors at all the Title I schools, we have been able to target and identify students that need that extra support to foster their academic success. For example, at our Title I schools, our intervention counselors are currently doing small groups to support students in the areas of study skills. There's programs that there's groups that are being run. We're currently teaching them different strategies such as organization, focus, perseverance. All these skills are helpful to lay the foundation of their educational success. I guess
Sorry,
I'm done.
your time's up. Thank you so much. And next up is Daniel Solis.
Good evening, members of the board, district admin, and CVUSD personnel. My name is Daniel Solis. I'm one of the high school counselors at TO High School, and I'm here to speak on behalf of our counseling team and just talk about some of the highlights and awesome things going on at our school site to help our students. Over the past 3 years, with the district support, our team has completed the Hatchings training, which has helped us move from mostly reactive work to more comprehensive, proactive counseling programs that serve all of our students. This year alone, we launched High School 101 for all of our ninth graders to help them build a strong academic and social foundation. Across all grade levels, we're delivering a full sequence of college and career readiness lessons. So that would include interest and personality surveys for 9th and 10th grade. And for our 11th graders, they are starting to explore post-secondary plans. With our seniors, we've had 2 focused post-secondary lessons. And our goal is to ensure that all of our students are also learning and understanding the A through G requirements, our AP and CTE pathways, our dual enrollment process, our various state seals, our CCGI platform, and these are just a few things that we are completing throughout the school year. Beyond classroom instruction, we've already held over 1,200 individual student meetings this year, addressing academic, social-emotional, and post-secondary needs. We collaborate with our wellness center to coordinate mental health support, and we offer executive functioning groups to help our students develop the organizational and study skills to be successful in high school. We host parent information nights and are proactively communicating with our families frequently throughout the school year. These efforts reflect our commitment to equity, access, and preparing every student for life after high school. We wear many hats in our role. We're educators, we're advocates, and system builders. With the continued support from the board and CVUSD, we can keep improving our program to ensure that all of our students feel supported and leave our schools ready for their next chapter. And with that, thank you for your time and your continued support of school counseling. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes public comments. Thank you so much to all of our public commenters. We're now moving on to section 3A. Do I have a motion?
President Powell.
Yes, Trustee Goldberg.
I'm trying to get to where it is. I move that we approve resolution number 25/26-15, ordering of seniority of certificated employees who first rendered paid service on the same day as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, we will vote. Trustee Kearns.
I'm going to respectfully abstain.
Trustee Goldberg.
Yes.
Trustee Gorbach.
Yes.
Trustee Sylvester.
Yes.
Trustee Gill.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0 with an abstention from Trustee Kearns. We are now at our consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
President Powell.
Yes, Trustee Sylvester.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll vote. Trustee Kearns.
Yes.
Trustee Gill.
Yes.
Trustee Gorbach.
Yes.
Trustee Sylvester.
Yes.
Trustee Goldberg.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0 with a preferential yes vote from Trustee Kearns. And with that, we are at section 5 and 5A. We have a presentation on CVUSD valedictorian policy revision and Latin honors proposal. And I know we have several presenters. Oh, we do have a speaker or a We do have a comment on this item, so we're actually going to have our public comment first. We have Brian Schumacher, and you have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. McLaughlin and members of the board. My name is Brian Schumacher. I am Advocacy and Community Impact Manager for Autism Society Ventura County. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of our Advocacy Committee. We meet every week to review the agendas of local city councils and school boards to ensure that individuals with disabilities are represented in the decisions that affect their lives. I'm here tonight to express our strong support for item 5A, the revisions of the valedictorian policy and the adoption of the Latin honor system. This proposal represents a meaningful step toward equity, transparency, and inclusion. It creates a fair and clear way to recognize academic excellence and ensure that all students, especially those in special education, ELD, CTE, and arts programs, share in opportunities to be honored for their hard work and success. We also want to acknowledge the discussion around accessibility of A through G classes, the very courses required for admission to California state universities. According to these, access to these courses is essential for students with disabilities and for those from underrepresented groups to have a fair pathway to higher education. Policies like this one send a clear message that this district recognizes these barriers and is actively working to create a more equitable system for every learner. We especially appreciate how this model recognizes that achievement takes many forms. It values dedication, perseverance, and growth across all learning pathways, not just a narrow academic measure. This kind of recognition inspires students and their families, many of whom have historically been excluded from this important and formative rite of passage. The new Latin Honors approach supports the well-being of our future disability leaders by encouraging them to challenge themselves without overwhelming pressure to chase an index or external credits. It sends a message that learning itself and the diverse ways students achieve it is what truly matters. For the 19 students who missed out on this recognition under the previous system last year, this change would have made a real difference. We commend the board for listening, analyzing the data carefully, and leading with compassion and fairness. On behalf of the Autism Society of Ventura County and our advocacy committee, thank you for your continued commitment to inclusive excellence and for creating a school community where every student's success is valued and celebrated. For more information on our advocacy efforts or to learn how we can collaborate on future projects, please contact us at advocacy@autismventura.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we are now ready for our presentation. Thank you all so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I feel like our presentation is done. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. We're all really just so pleased. Thank you. All right. Good evening, Dr. McLaughlin, President Powell, school board trustees, and district administration. My name is Nicole Judd, Director of High Schools, and on behalf of the Graduation Academic Recognition Committee, it's truly our honor to be here this evening to present our proposal to revise CVUSD's current valedictorian policy and transition to a Latin honor system that, in our opinion, more meaningfully recognizes the academic accomplishments of our students. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our presenters for this evening. Ms. Emily Nelson, counselor, Westlake High School. Yeah, she deserves a round of applause. She does. Ms. Tasha Bodwin, English teacher and coordinator for the Center for Advanced Studies and Research, Thousand Oaks High School. Mr. Carlos Cardenas, assistant principal of instruction, Westlake High School. And Mr. Steve Lapierre, principal, Newbury Park High School. We are also joined tonight by other members of our committee whose insight and collaboration helped shape this proposal. Ms. Danielle Oliveri, Assistant Principal Instruction, Thousand Oaks High School. Mr. Daniel Solis, Counselor, Thousand Oaks High School. Dr. Jana Studer, Assistant Director, Educational Technology and Student Performance. And finally, I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Jason Branham, Principal at Westlake High School, and Dr. Eric Bergman, Principal at Thousand Oaks High School, who are here this evening in support of the work and direction of this committee. So thank you for being here. The committee represents voices from across our secondary schools, principals, assistant principals, counselors, district office personnel, and teachers, all coming together with a shared purpose to update our graduation recognition system in a way that celebrates academic excellence, honors student diversity, and reflects the values of CVUSD. Is that the sign? That's the sign, okay. Today's presentation will have 4 major components. First, I will review the current policy and practice, including a brief description of the index GPA used to determine valedictorian and salutatorian, as well as some valedictorian data across our school sites. Next, Ms. Nelson will share the challenges with our current valedictorian policy, walk through how our committee was formed, and the process we used to gather input and highlight the collaborative work that has helped align our committee as well as our shared values. Then, Ms. Bodwin will walk through our proposed Latin honors model, outlining the GPA bands and the recognition structure. Mr. Cardenas will follow by diving into the numbers, showing you the data from the class of 2024 and 2025, and how the committee's proposed change to a Latin honors model will affect the overall numbers of students being recognized district-wide. Finally, Mr. Lapierre, our closer, will summarize the key benefits of the proposed change to the Latin honors model. To provide some background, under our current policy, Board Policy 5127, valedictorian and salutatorian are determined using an index GPA formula. In this system, students earn GPA bonuses for advanced coursework, an additional .02 for an A and a .01 for a B in honors, AP, IB, and dual enrollment classes. These points are added to the student's overall scholastic GPA, and those with a 4.65 GPA or higher, or the highest ranking student, which now often includes multiple students, are designated as valedictorians. When this policy was adopted back in 2007, it reflected the academic landscape of the time, when course offerings were a bit more limited and there was typically one valedictorian, one salutatorian. But today, the high school experience looks different. Students have a much broader range of opportunities: CTE, dual enrollment, expanded honors and AP pathways. And as a result, this current policy just no longer reflects the function as it was originally intended to do. So while it still operates technically, it's increasingly disconnected from the diverse student experiences that we see across CVUSD, and we don't believe it fully reflects the range of the excellence that our students demonstrate. So this slide shows how our current valedictorian policy now is across our schools and how it's trended over the course of the last 5 years. So you can see that the number of valedictorians varies widely. Some of our school sites having 0 to 1, while others having sometimes over 60 valedictorians. So with the proposed Latin honors model, we know that there'll still continue to be some variation among our school sites, but that variation will be more fair and transparent. So with that context, Ms. Nelson is going to share some more with you about the challenges within our current policy and walk us through how the committee developed our current proposal.
Some of you might recognize this obnoxiously neon slide from our last board presentation, but we thought it would be valuable anyways to review some of the core challenges that we feel we face with the current valedictorian policy. When creating a new academic award system, we were cognizant to filter suggestions through these lenses. The main concerns with the existing valedictorian policy are the emotional impact of students, the equity of access to courses both within and outside the student's high school, access to a transparent metric, aka GPA, that indicates whether an award will be earned, and the policy's impact of driving students away from classes of interest, especially at the CP level. Since this existing valedictorian policy was implemented in 2007, the district's and I would say the nation's values around supporting student mental health in schools have shifted dramatically. Every committee member has had a personal experience with the current policy and its impact on students' anxiety and sense of academic competition. When we started to drill down into the data and look for information on the transcripts of former valedictorian honorees, some alarming patterns emerged. We realized that students in certain prescribed or self-selected academic pathways were not able to earn enough index GPA points to qualify for valedictorian. Additionally, if you recall those pie charts from the previous board presentation, we saw that most of our valedictorians had external credits on their transcript. We examined those external credits at one of our particular high schools. We saw that over 96% of our valedictorians had external credits on their transcript. And when we dug even further, we realized that about 30% or 1/3 of those students would never have qualified for valedictorian without the additional boost provided by those external credits. Our goal in creating a new awards program was to eliminate any advantage for students taking outside coursework. In terms of access, we were also concerned that the complex index GPA calculation, which is not found on our CVUSD transcripts, provided another barrier for families with low educational capital and institutional knowledge of our systems. We have an abundance of qualitative and quantitative data indicating our current policy impacts course selection. When we came to student DAC back in January, we heard from several students that they had avoided taking courses of interest, particularly ASG, journalism, because when they did the calculation, they realized they were not going to be able to obtain the title of valedictorian if they maintained their enrollment in such courses. And we see this play out too when we look at the transcript data. We have very low to non-existent enrollment in what we would call like activities-based courses. So again, that ASG, that journalism, theater, choir, and low to non-existent enrollment in CTE courses and CTE pathways for the students earning the valedictorian honors. On the other end of the spectrum, we also have students who have a perception about the rigor of certain classes at their home high school sites, and in order to protect their GPA, seek to take those courses elsewhere. This calendar shows that our valedictorian conversation started in the spring of 2024, but honestly, these were happening well before I became a counselor here in CVUSD. Personally, there was a particular student and family situation a few years ago for me that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I became very committed to ensuring that no other ambitious, successful, kind, and involved student, as this student was, left their CVUSD career feeling dejected and less than. So internal conversations ramped up in the spring of 2024 at meetings like All Hands, ADCO, which are admin and counselors, and even in CVPPA. With the help of our amazing directors, we were able to take our initial proposal to Student DAC back in January and get their feedback and listen to some of their concerns, which admittedly were quite mixed. Shortly thereafter, we presented to the board, and then about a week later to our Super DAC parents. There was much more anonymity, or there was much more consensus between the parents that the current policy needed to be revamped. And from there, our valedictorian committee was convened. We've been meeting since this last spring, and it is an intersection of educators with diverse experiences and areas of expertise. All the while, we're having conversations at our sites and leadership in different DAC meetings and school site councils to engage parents and students in the proposed policy changes. And when we're meeting as a committee, we filtered every detail of our conversations through these core values related to equity, well-being, and transparency. I will admit the first few meetings left us feeling like a consensus was out of reach. We analyzed the benefits and concerns of the existing valedictorian policy, as well as examined the policies of other nearby schools that shared similarities to CVUSD. But there was a noted tension. Some committee members felt we were replacing the existing policy with a new one, while others felt like we needed to eliminate the policy and start from scratch building a brand new awards system. So in other words, some were focused on creating a policy that would honor the same students but using a different formula, while others were interested in completely eliminating the proposal and starting from scratch, developing something that honored a more varied group of students. At this point in the committee process, we paused and we took an individual values assessment. We answered Likert scale questions such as, GPA is the most objective and reliable indicator of success, and our school district has an obligation to redefine success in more inclusive terms. And we realized that our individual values were actually very aligned when it came to honoring academic effort. As we grappled with what it meant to be labeled hardworking or high achieving, we collectively moved away from a more traditional definition and towards a more relative definition, a definition that honored the individuality of students, their strengths, interests, abilities, and circumstances. Once in consensus that we were building a new policy from scratch and not simply reworking our current valedictorian policy, we were able to discuss philosophical and technical nuances within different proposals, all within the general Latin honors framework. So for example, under different proposals, we would ask ourselves, how might this impact student motivation or college admissions? On the technical side, with the help of our tech-minded teammates, we were able to look at some of the limitations in Q and analyze how using a weighted or unweighted GPA might impact how many students were honored and the types of students that were being honored into 3 different Latin honors bands. We believe the current proposal that we will share has addressed the goals of the committee. Fairness and consistency came up early. We wanted a system that treats students equally regardless of which school they attend or what level of classes they are taking. Academic success can be achieved in SAI, ELD, or CP coursework. We talked a lot about clarity and transparency. The current GPA formula is quite complicated. With the current proposal, though, we did have to compromise between two competing values. Most of the committee members were in support of excluding external credits from that calculation. However, because of the limitations within Q, the only way to be able to give families a more transparent GPA that is visible on the transcript was to include all credits that we have on our transcript. Authentic recognition for recognizing students who are genuine learners relative to who they are as individuals. Our Latin honors proposal reduces the strategizing and gamification that occurs with the current policy. Balance and well-being were major themes. We heard from students, parents, and many counselors that the valedictorian race created unnecessary stress and discouraged students from participating in coursework that they would enjoy. And finally, we landed on using a weighted GPA to celebrate the diverse pathways of our students and reflect our belief that rigor looks different for different learners, that students completing advanced CTE coursework or art courses deserve to be honored as much as students who have elected to take an AP or IB set of classes. Together, these values guided the committee towards recommending a Latin honors system that better reflects how we have evolved as a district.
Thank you. So before we begin, I teach in a program where 100% of our students upon graduation attend a four-year university. Their average GPA is, in any given year, a 4.5. When I went back and looked at all of their transcripts, I noticed that many of our students are still in band. I would say, I think it was 96, 98% of them are still in an extracurricular. They're in journalism, yearbook, ASB, band, playing a sport, and that's not the case if you start when Carlos goes through and start looking at what students are giving up in order to be valedictorian. I think that's where we really started to look at the importance of the goal that we have. So our proposal is that for the current sophomores, the graduating class of 2028, we would like to move away from that indexed, very arbitrary 3.65 GPA that no other school, I think probably in the state or the country, uses that system, just us. We want to go with the straight, just academic GPA, and based on that GPA, what would that look like? So if a student has an academic GPA across all of the courses that they take, that is a 3.5 to a 3.69, then they would receive a cum laude award, just like we would in college. If they are a 3.7 to a 3.89, then they are magna cum laude. And for those high achieving, 4.9 GPA students, good for you. You're summa cum laude, and you can have a 3.9, which is, I feel like, a pretty doable GPA without having to go out there and take random dual enrollment classes or other courses to try to, like they said, gamify what they're doing, right? How many honors credits can I get? And they're not going to give up on the classes that keep them mentally healthy, like ASB, like sports, like art, dance, theater, whatever that is. So that's the program that we're going with. We really feel like this aligns not only with what is currently happening on the college landscape, but also our district's LCAP goals. Like we said previously, all courses are included. So CP courses, if you are an ELD student, a special education student, it doesn't matter. It's just a straight, very simple GPA calculation to make sure you hit one of those bands, and then you are awarded that Latin honor. We do have a cutoff point, and I'm sure the counselors will be very happy with this. This is at the end of the semester, first semester of senior year. So no waiting and, I have to get these grades in from dual enrollment and I can make it by 2 weeks before graduation, and all of a sudden that list of valedictorians just starts to skyrocket because kids have figured out they can take a class in a week and get a GPA bump. So we're getting rid of that. And then it's just going to recognize high-achieving students no matter what their achievement is, not only the AP kids or the kids in the center or the IB. It's going to recognize anybody who has worked really diligently and really hard, and we think we're pretty proud of that. And again, this is going to balance that just mental health, right, where they're not going to be trying to get this GPA. And for any parent out there who would be concerned, a college does not care that you are a valedictorian. They don't even know that you're a valedictorian because you're applying for college. Finn, Mr. Kern's up there, he's already applied to his schools, and it is November 5th. So by the time that GPA for valedictorian, that's really, I feel like, the parents' award. right? Because nobody else knows about it. So this is just better. And maybe it will allow kids to take classes that they're genuinely interested in, which I think is a bonus. And I think colleges would approve of and appreciate as well. And I think parents would approve of and appreciate. So that is our proposal, and we're hoping you adopt it. Thank you.
So let's take a look at what the impact would be. So we're going to take a look at some data basically from our previous valedictorian model, and then we're going to show you what it would look like had we adopted the Latin honors model. So what we see here is the class of 2024. On the left-hand side, you will see the number of valedictorians from each school site, and then the whole bottom row is basically encompassing our entire senior class in our entire district of that year. On the right-hand side, where you see the columns for GATE, 504, IEP, multilingual learners, and CTE completers, this is if you were to break up the valedictorian class and how many students within that program would have qualified for the valedictorian. So you'll see we do have some higher numbers in the GATE column, but when we start to see our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners, you will see much lower numbers by comparison. In the CTE completer column, 3 of these 4 CTE students would not have qualified without external credits. Okay, so just kind of a picture of what that would look like. Next slide. Now, this same exact class, if we adopted the Latin honors system, you will now see in the columns we honed in on really our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners. You will see an increase in representation in all 3 bands of the cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. At the bottom, you'll see basically kind of our total numbers of representation within each of these programs. One thing I want to highlight is in our multilingual category, you will see it's not as big of an increase as we would like to see. One thing that we want to consider, however, is we do have many students who reclassify within their high school experience, and these students are still being actively monitored. However, in Q, they're no longer classified as a multilingual learner. So we will likely still see students who have recently reclassified captured within this, just not within specifically the multilingual lens. Next slide. This is for our visual people like me, okay? So all these big numbers, basically look at the colors, right? Our red or maroon is our valedictorian representation in the 2024 category. So you'll see 6 students with 504s, no students with an IEP, or no multilingual learners. The blue represents if we had adopted the Latin honors at that same time. So you will see a drastic increase in representation from different student populations. Next. So, class of 2025 now. So, we used semester 1 grades. So valedictorians are in the top row for each school. Below the bolded line is if we adopt the Latin honor system. Again, just kind of giving you an overall view, no longer just within certain populations. So you'll see out of the 1,501 students that had graduated, how many would have fallen within each band in each school site. And the very last column is basically all of CVUSD seniors to kind of give you an overall view of how many students would be recognized under this new system. Okay.
So previously, our presenters have talked kind of gone a little bit and just kind of given some examples, especially when Tasha was speaking related to the benefits. And so we wanted to touch a little bit more and get more specific about that, as well as I also want to kind of tie in what our school district LCAP goals, and also took a look at the mission statements of our high schools and look at the benefits how they align already with that. So we got, first of all, I mean, in general, the proposal is fair, simple, and transparent. As mentioned, a straightforward traditional GPA. The calculation is visible on the transcript. It's easy to understand. It's weighted and it considers all scholastic credits on the student's transcript. And it factors in all courses, as mentioned there. So it removes that barrier, and also removes barriers for transfer students as well when they're coming in. So if we take a look at a couple of our LCAP goals. First, equitable access and positive student outcomes. It's simplifying the GPA calculation, ensures all students have equal access to recognition, regardless of the program, transfer status, or academic pathway. LCAP goal, communication and engagement. A clear, straightforward honors model increases transparency and strengthens communication between schools, families, and the community of whole. and thinking in terms of mission alignment. It supports each high school's mission to provide inclusive, understandable, and equitable recognition systems that reflect academic integrity and fairness. Next, inclusive and balanced. It allows students to achieve the highest honors band regardless of course level, that encourages recognition across a broader range of abilities and interests, removes external coursework as a GPA booster and motivator, and doesn't deter participation in CT or other pathways, activity-based pathways. I think this is probably the best part of this is students are going to take classes because they want to take those classes, not because they need a .02 bump. They're going to take classes that they're passionate about, not because it's available in the spring semester at Moore Park College. They are going to do mock trial because they want to do mock trial and not worry about the grade. They're going to complete a CTE pathway because they are interested in that pathway as a future option for them in career life. And so these are, it just provides that balance. And when you're having those conversations like Emily referred to, it's more about what am I really interested in as an individual, and where do I want to take that path? And once again, looking at LCAP goals, equitable access again, honors that the system provides students from all course levels, aligning with our commitment to equitable opportunities. Student well-being again, that reduces that GPA-driven pressure and encourages healthy motivation consistent with the district's focus. Their focus on social emotional balance and belonging. And once again, mission alignment. It reinforces the school's aim to cultivate diverse, well-rounded students at Newbury Park High School, an inclusive community, and at Thousand Oaks High School, for example, as well, every Lancer, every day, by valuing multiple paths to excellence. And it's aligned and sustainable. It aligns with traditional college academic honor systems, as mentioned previously. It eliminates the confusing and equitable index GPA, and it's uniform and it will be uniform and consistent across all CVSD high schools, chords and recognition within a graduation program. And those opportunities for additional campus-specific celebratory activities. So once again, that recognition for every pathway, it honors academic excellence in a way that values both rigor and diversity. It fosters that culture of achievement, curiosity, and balance, not Pac-Manning points or Pac-Manning grades. It focuses on, once again, that passion and being rewarded for the success in those programs. And then once again, our LCAP goals that we have as a school district, highly qualified, diverse, and effective staff as well, because it helps establish a consistent district-wide recognition system that fosters collaboration and alignment among schools and staff. And once again, student well-being. It promotes a culture of balance over competition, supporting emotional health and positive motivation, and mission alignment. It mirrors the shared mission across CVUSD high schools to prepare students for future success in college and career through rigor, inclusivity, and integrity while celebrating curiosity and, most importantly, balanced achievement. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you so much for not only that presentation, but for all the work and the intention and the thought that's gone into this. I'm really appreciative of, the values that you shared, not only the lenses you were looking through as you were talking about this policy, like fairness and transparency, diversity, student well-being, equity, and the values that I think our district is really striving for. But then also sharing through your process when you did have some tension or conflict on the committee, taking that time out to really examine your own individual biases and exploring that and your own individual values and doing that work, was so important, I think, to this process. And that was really valuable for us to be able to hear that too. So thank you for that. Also, I really appreciate the fact that this came first through Student DAC. It's been really fun to sort of watch how this process happens, and because obviously this is a really major potential change here that we're talking about. So, so for the board, obviously this agenda item is really based on the presentation. Then the next agenda item is the actual draft policy. So I think we'll use this time right now to just ask our presenters any overall questions that we have that was contained in the presentation, and I will just throw it out to my colleagues. And I see a light on already.
Yes.
So Trustee Kearns, would you like to start?
I would. Thank you. First of all, thank you for that excellent presentation. And can we also acknowledge how well represented Thousand Oaks High School is in this room? I see counselors, college counselors, my teacher, Ms. Bodwin, my principal, Dr. Bergman, all people that have been very instrumental to me being sitting here right now. So thank you all, and thank you even to those who are not from Thousand Oaks High School for the excellent presentation. I think the only question that I was left with, could you elaborate a little bit more on why you chose the class of 2028 as opposed to a later date where people wouldn't be in the middle of their high school experience having this changed up on them?
Yeah, we were going to Rochambeau.
Okay, perfect.
I think one of the things looking at with the class of 2028 is that the majority of higher level courses in terms of honors, AP, IB classes start primarily junior and senior year. Now, yeah, we recognize that students have started in some classes, AP Human Geography, as well as especially honors classes as well, and some AP classes their sophomore year, but the load goes up exponentially starting in their junior and senior year, and some of those students have already committed that process as a junior, and especially their senior year as well. And so we felt like the kind of a demarcation line of where we could start preparing not only our students, but also our community as well, give them time and give us ample time to the correct way to publicize and inform our community about this change if we do end up making this change, and for all the reasons that we talked about. And we have a fantastic public relations department in the school district, and so I think that we felt like it was a good starting point for students to transition to that next to a different honor system on that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I think that definitely provides some clarity. Thank you.
If I could add one piece to it, I was not on the committee, but wanted to learn a lot about this particular question too. It was shared to me from Ms. Judd in talking with the committee that there was kind of like a sense of urgency. So as the committee came up with their proposal, and you all can certainly jump in and correct if I'm wrong, but the feeling that this was like the right thing to do seemed to come up, like when we're thinking about our values and what was really important to us and for students. And so I think that the target that is set is trying to hit this balance for them of, trying to, I don't want to say fix, but make an adjustment based off of who we are as a school district and what they're seeing in a way that's as timely as well as reasonable. I don't know if I said that correctly.
No,
Okay.
I think you did, but go ahead. I would like to speak on behalf of the counselors and the assistant principals in charge of instruction who have a mind-numbing, very stressful job when it gets close to graduation of trying to calculate those valedictorian lists. I don't think anybody in this room understands, yes, the kids have to go through the stress of earning those dang grades, but I really feel like the counselors, it's also not good for their mental health, because what if they make a mistake? What if a kid didn't get enrolled in a class? I mean, just watching it as a teacher even and seeing what they go through, I feel like this is fair and equitable across every level, including the people that work in the district, because they will have a much easier time calculating this GPA.
We all have something to say on this. I think, too, as we dove into the data, it was so compelling and troubling that the idea of waiting 4 more years gave us significant pause. But this idea to start earlier actually came from parents at the Super DAC. We had a table of parents that stood up and were like, why are we waiting? Can't we do this now? And so that really challenged us to think, can we move this policy forward in a faster way than we had previously started out with thinking we could.
I'm gonna have to say something at this point.
Just to kind of briefly add on, I think there's a sense of urgency. I know like the discussions have been starting, over this last like year and a half or so, but like Ms. Nelson touched upon earlier, like these were discussions that we were even having just at the site level about like how to handle some of these scenarios. And I appreciate Tasha standing up and speaking a little bit on behalf of our APIs and our counseling team. And I kind of want to return the favor in the sense that like I've had personal experiences where I've had to sit kids down who were like 0.01 points away. and we have to announce to the rest of the valedictorians who made it, they're going to find out that they were on the cusp but didn't. And so having to explain to a kid, hey, you got a B in AP chemistry, and that is what's going to keep you from reaching valedictorian. And then I see them run out of my office, about to cry, and then I get a teacher calling me saying like, hey, this kid is asking me like, what can I do to bring my grade up? And it does also place teachers in that position, and they do kind of get put in the middle of some of these difficult decisions, right? Of, do I support the student's mental well-being right now, or do I stand by the grade that I know that they've earned at this stage? So, yeah.
Ms. Shedd, would you like to add anything?
Ditto.
Okay. Thank you all.
Well, first off, thank you for coming back and presenting. This was a great conversation that we had back in March, and there's been obviously a lot of hard work and thinking that has gone into this since then. And back in March, I absolutely and to this day agree with the challenges and concerns of the existing system for all of the reasons, and I don't think we need to go through those again. So I was completely in favor of moving to a Latin honors system. Where I'm a little stuck, so I'd like to understand the thinking, is using the weighted GPA. Because in college, I haven't been in college in decades, but back in the day, an A was an A was an A. Whether it was an intro class or a super hard, high-level class, there was no weighting to the GPA. And what that has done, and I don't know what the numbers would be, is you've created a system where your summa cum laude graduates, which should be, in the words of one of you, the absolute highest achieving students, is the largest tier, representing almost, I think, over a third of our total graduates. So I believe that that's because we're using the weighting. So again, I've been mulling this over, and I think it's very complicated, and clearly we don't want to put the wrong incentives or disincentives in place. We want kids to take classes with rigor, and not worry about, they get a bunch of Bs and all of a sudden their unweighted GPA falls below a 4.0. But there is something about, if you're going to have a high level of academic achievement and noted as summa cum laude, that it probably, I'd love to believe it reflects a third of the class, but that may not be the case. So I am fully in favor of your college prep student or your student on a CTE pathway having a 3.9 and over on an unweighted basis being designated summa. I'm completely in favor of that. But I am struggling with what happens to these, I guess, AP and honors students who are possibly can get straight Bs, maybe a few As, and also get that designation. But again, I can argue it the other way as well. So I really want to hear your thinking on this.
I kind of wish you were in the room with us, Karen, because I feel like we had this very same conversation. We debated about the unweighted and the weighted, and we went back and forth. And what I recall from that discussion with the committee is where we landed on weighted is what we didn't want to do was de-incentivize students from trying those more difficult classes. So those students who are maybe your higher CP students who might then say, you know what, I'm just not even going to try that AP class or that honors class, and that was kind of where I remember we landed on that piece of the conversation. And when we did the core values, and I think this, if I remember correctly, we had about 4 or 5 meetings, but this discussion happened before our core values, this particular conversation about using weighted and unweighted, and we were back and forth, and then we did the core values discussion, and we said to ourselves, why are we focused so much on how many? It's not about the amount of trophy. It's not a trophy game anymore for us. It's about recognizing excellence across all bands, regardless of where they were. And so when we stopped focusing on the number and the top and the number ones, it took us to a different space of how can we recognize a more broad spectrum of students. Yeah.
Well, let me just comment on that. I do recognize, and I would not want to put something in place that would create a situation where a student says, forget it, I'm not going to take the honors class. I'd rather just take the CP class and get an A and I'll become summa. But I do believe that students take AP and honors classes for other reasons other than some designation. They take it because they're applying to colleges, and colleges want to see rigor. And our schools offer so many AP and honors classes. Those students who don't take advantage of that are probably somewhat hurt in the college process. And then there's students who want to be challenged and they enjoy the higher level classes. So I'm not sure how much of a disincentive it would be. I don't know. And you're right, focusing on the numbers, the number of people in each band is not necessarily the place to begin. But I just think there's reasons our students take the top classes, and I'm not sure it's just so that in the graduation program it'll say SUMA.
And we would agree with you on that. Absolutely. There's more reasons other than this that students are taking AP's honors dual enrollment IB classes. We agree with you.
If I could just jump in just real quick. As a student, applying to colleges, et cetera, the GPA is kind of the end all be all of really all of this. The GPA is what you put on job applications, what you put on college applications, what you put on scholarships, what your merit-based aid, and all that sort of thing. So this is kind of like more of like a designation, I feel like, from my perspective of what have you accomplished in high school, like in terms of testing your own personal ability, I feel like. And so that's where I would justify the use of like weighted, because it includes like the 3.9 GPA in CP classes is honestly not easy to get. That is like almost a perfect transcript. I mean, I think that's literally 1B. And so that's not easy to get either. I would say that honestly requires just as much of a level of commitment to a high school education as getting like a 4.5 where I could probably have several Bs in AP or honors classes. I know, well, I do have several Bs, and that's kind of, I'm just gonna be open and honest, like I'm not gonna hide it, but, and so I think that is just as worthy of merit, and I think having the bigger band, I would agree with you. At first I was a little like, oh, these numbers seem a little weird, but I think reflecting on it, having that bigger band just acknowledges that more CVUSD students were pushing themselves to the absolute maximum, at least as reflected as different kind of perspectives on that GPA number, because it means something different for everyone. So I think that was my thought process to it, if that helps.
I'm happy you said that, because that's sort of where I landed with the whole thing. So thanks, Finn.
Well, yeah, and I was just going to jump in and say something that somebody said in the presentation kind of caught my ear, and it just sums it all up for me. With this newer proposal, it's recognizing a broader group of high-achieving students, and that just kind of just lays it out for me.
I do have one question that you mentioned. I was happy that one of you talked about the limitations with Q, and because to me, whatever it is, whether it's valedictorian or Latin honors, these are internal recognition of CVUSD students for CVUSD classes. So I would be interested if there was a way to split out the outside coursework. Maybe dual enrollment we've committed to, so I can make the argument that we should include those particular courses, especially if they're on our campus. But I'd be curious if we say we weren't using Q anymore, would there be a way to pull out those classes, and if it was easy? I see, I don't know.
And we did have, Dr. Jana Suter on our committee, as well as Ryan Tepper, who's not here, but he was there as well, helping us with that dialogue of, can we remove the external credits? And there wasn't a way for us to do that. But we did talk about it, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
And I think, we talked about why students take external credits, and I think our first reaction was, to get ahead or to pad their GPA, but when we really sat down and thought about why, we have students who get sick and they make up credits in the summer when they're feeling better, and we have students who do poorly and they do credit recovery. And then when we started talking about excluding external credits, it got quite complicated because it ended up excluding the other reasons why students might earn external credits as well. And we're looking to create, the most humanistic policy possible, even if that increases the number of students who are awarded. We're trying really to suss out any potential deficiencies in this policy proposal.
And then just as a follow-up, I think, Carlos, you said something about the reclassified students. Is there a way to run people who have been reclassified and just where they might have fallen in this? Just, I'm curious as to the data. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to change my. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, there's like we could run a report through Elevation that would give us all of our monitored, reclassified, and then just pull their transcripts through Q, and then.
Just curious what it would have done. Not that it was just going to change my thinking on
Right.
it. I just, it's interesting to me. Broadening the net.
I will be really quick because this isn't an agenda item, but I will front load to the board that we do have a committee started to look at our student information system and moving away from Q. So that is in the works.
And everyone is
I would like to speak from a parent's perspective and a teacher perspective. I really feel like I first of all, I was like, let's go with one valedictorian and salutatorian like we used to have, and just stop the madness. And then that got downvoted really quickly because I think it's just a joke. I'm sorry, but I feel like the way that it has become, my hope is that going with the Latin honor system, it's something that just comes about naturally, and students are not gunning for that because it's really like, oh my gosh, look at how nice. On the graduation program, it says that I'm summa cum laude or I'm cum laude or whatever. And it's not this fight to go into the counseling office and see, can I get this class? Can I do this? And then it just becomes something that's not even in consideration, right? Whereas now, it's pretty in consideration, and it's for nothing, right? It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, do you want a scratch and sniff sticker on your diploma? Because it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, you've achieved these great things, but it should be because you wanted to achieve them and you did all this really cool stuff, not because you took 17 extra classes at Moore Park College. So as a parent and as a teacher who teaches those high-level kids, I hope that this is just something that at the end of the year, it's like, oh my gosh, great, congratulations, and we don't even really consider it because it's just for your parents and it's on the graduation announcement, right? So that we don't have to worry about whether they took it in honors or in CP classes or they were in ELD or whatever. I think it just hopefully becomes a non-issue, which right now it feels like an issue. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to thank you all, not only for your presentation tonight, which was great, but your presentation, not just the presentations, but the work that you've done on committees for so long, the meetings that you must have had ad infinitum, for all the work that you're doing. I also want to emphasize what you said, I think, Emily, about we want the 4 years of high school to be self-exploratory. We want to find out, we don't want a kid to not try to play a trombone because they're trying to get the valedictorian. We want that life, we want high school to represent that life experience. And I'm so glad you considered it. I'm so glad it will expand the high school experience for our kids. And so I just want to add that, but mainly thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, Mr. Grobak, I want to say this committee was fantastic to work with. It was such I won't take credit for anything other than picking a really good group because we didn't always agree, but the civil discourse, the communication back and forth, when we did the core values activity, it just was a real cohesive group at the end, and I just feel like we did such great work, and so I really appreciate you recognizing that, so thank you.
And I do want to jump in and add 29 years of education for me, and probably either been part of or witnessed hundreds of committees. Some worked, some did not work. I would say this is probably a model of how a committee should roll out from the start to the end of this. I know that Ms. Judd, every time they met, would say, come over and say hi to the group. And sometimes the superintendent sneaking around meetings and sniffing around meetings kills people's mojos. So I didn't want to do it because the feedback that was coming in after these meetings from Ms. Judd was fantastic, and there's a lot of work being done. And to be honest, it's probably one of the best rollout of a committee meeting I've ever been part of and seen. So thank you to the group.
I also want to say thank you. Thank you for embracing this challenge and not shying away from it. It's been out there for a while. Thank you for keeping us apprised of your progress as you've been going through this. And thank you for the extraordinary quality of work. I think that if someone who didn't know us came and just visited for the last 40 minutes or so, however long we've been talking about this, they would learn something very, very important about us and about how deeply and broadly we share this set of values and what it means when we say that we foreground equity in our decision making or that we live inclusion. What you have modeled and what you have described for us is how that plays out in your professional responsibilities in extraordinarily thoughtful care for every single student that we have the privilege to serve. And I agree with Dr. McLaughlin, this is a real model that makes me as a trustee extraordinarily proud. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I just wanted to have you restate one more time for anybody watching or watching the recording. And you talked about in the presentation, and Tasha just reemphasized it, that this is not something that matters for college admissions. It really doesn't matter, except to make maybe a student feel like they accomplished something at the end of their high school career. It's on the graduation announcement. Like, that's it. Like, I think that's really important for people to understand.
College admissions committees do not care if a student was awarded valedictorian, particularly in CVUSD, because it does not mean an honor for one.
I'll also say, if any parent out there is listening, the students, when they do apply to college, they are given what percentile they are in. So if they're in the top 10% of the graduating class, remember, Finn has probably applied to 8 colleges already, and it's November 5th. So the counselors will go in and put what percentile they're in, and that's what the colleges care about. They don't even know anything about valedictorian, and they don't care because it doesn't come for 8 months later. So we still do a good job by our students, by the way that we represent them and their efforts when they do apply to college in like November of their senior year, not in May when they get valedictorian or the Latin honors.
Thank
Just
you.
one question to our high school principals or those who've been on working with our WASC committees. Has this ever come up from any of our WASC committees as a identified issue or concern or something that seems a little off base compared to other sites or other districts?
I hope I can speak with Dr. Berman and Mr. Branham, is that we've all chaired WASC committees, WASCs at other schools. This is not a criteria in the sense that you're looking at, the more the focus is, how are you assessing students and looking for mastery and completion. It's not focused on that. Now, however, schools and school districts do build school reports, and the data that we would get from some of these, like if we went to a Latin honors band, we would change, what our school reports are, even in the SARC or however when we do things. So it's never been a criterion to look at when I've run a WASC or and work with a WASC committee or a site. It's more about how it's all focused on how are you supporting students that they're focusing on the achievement gap instead. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all so much. So with that, we are ready to move on to 5B, which is the actual draft policy, or I should say the updates to this policy. And Mr. Liu, I think, do you have any comments on this that you want to share with us?
We brought forward Board Policy 5127, graduation ceremonies and activities, and that is because the proposal, based off of the prior presentation, as well as all of our, I'd say, prior work within our policy on valedictorian and salutatorian is within this policy. So I should note that there are some small gamut language changes, and those are, of course, noted in bold and black font. The new CVUSD language, which is the proposal that was shared, is in bold, black, and italics, which is primarily on page 3 and 4 of the policy.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I would note that there is green on the language. We posted the agenda on Friday. There was a language change that needed to be had between the time it got posted to tonight. So we had it identified as green so that folks knew exactly what the adjustment was.
And I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, Trustee Kearns.
Yes, thank you. This is I think extremely similar to what they left kind of student doc saying what might occur, and like kind of the Latin honors system was kind of proposed there, and that was received very well at student doc. My only reservation, and a reservation of a significant number of students that I've spoken to, and a significant portion of student doc, is starting at 2028. I've heard from, I mean, pretty much every single person I've spoken to about this, that as a student, is like, I would feel, they're not going to be necessarily impacted by it because they're, most of them are like juniors and seniors, but I have spoken to several sophomores about this as well, and they just don't want the rules to change. I understand like a lot of the higher level coursework does take place in junior and senior year. I've certainly experienced that, but you know, even in 8th grade, we were making decisions about course registration that were impacting like our trajectory in high school. And one of the bigger ways that that occurs is in math. You have to make decisions in 8th grade that very directly impact what is going to occur in your junior and senior year, especially as it relates to math. And so I certainly, as a student, would not necessarily want the threshold to change if this were like my main focus in high school, which I understand the point is for it not to be, but the fact of the matter is that there are students who that is kind of the goal. I certainly would not appreciate it changing halfway through, even as early as sophomore year. I think is still too late. So I would definitely propose, if the rest of you, we can have a further discussion on this, but starting with our current rising freshman class, even potentially rising 8th graders, honestly.
Thank you for those comments. Yes, Trustee.
Rising freshman 2030?
Yeah, I think it's 2030, yes.
Go ahead.
I do hear what you're saying, but I did think that, because I think all 5 of them spoke on this topic, made a very valid point and valuable point about the urgency of this. And given what we've heard that, and you know, look, I do understand it is very important for students, but I also believe students are making course decisions and choices for math, not necessarily based solely on the possibility of becoming valedictorian. So I wouldn't want to spring this on a current junior or senior, I agree with that. But I do feel that waiting any longer is just exacerbating all of the challenges and concerns that were enumerated up front.
Yeah, I don't think, I think doing it in the class of 2028 is honestly an acceptable compromise to kind of meet both sides of that. And it's certainly not something that's going to prevent me from voting yes on this in the future. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up, because it has been like the sole concern of students that I've spoken to about this, of starting later, I mean, even we could do it in the freshman class, but the current freshman class. But yeah, so I just wanted to offer that for the board's consideration.
Thank you for providing that and for, you know, doing what we want you to do and represent student voice and bringing that. And I think, you know, some of the discussion too, obviously today was about, I mean, this is about changing mindsets, right? And about how to think differently about how we're doing this kind of recognition. And anytime we're doing that, it's going to be hard. And there's probably going to be somebody caught right in there. And so I really appreciated their emphasis on the need for urgency and to make the changes for all the reasons they laid out so clearly and so well. So, anyone else have comments or questions? Yes.
As noted by my previous comments and questions, I am still struggling. I hear the argument. I wasn't in the room, Nicole. I am still struggling with the weighted versus unweighted. And I also hear what Trustee Kern said about someone taking all CP classes and having to get a 3.9. That's a lot of work, and I would agree that is not a slam dunk by any means. So I would almost take the summa cum laude designation, use an unweighted, and maybe bring it to a 3.8 to a 4.0. So some of these college prep only or CT pathway students who are not taking honors in AP classes are working their tails off and maybe get a couple of Bs may still fall into that top category. Again, I understand both sides of it. That's just my only concern.
Any other thoughts, input, comments?
Yeah, I think 3.9 is a good cutoff just because it is like, I feel like 3.9 and having, that is pretty much, that's effectively straight A's. Having straight A's in a CP class, I mean, to me, at least like anecdotally, feels like a pretty good comparison to having like dotted B's, mostly straight A's in AP and honors courses, because they're both pretty significant accomplishments. And I think if we lower it to 3.8, then we're probably looking at a very large number of students at the highest designation. So I think.
But I guess that would be my question. If we looked at the numbers using an unweighted GPA.
Oh,
and
using
lowered it
unweighted 3.8.
Oh yeah, no. I'm suggesting throwing out there an unweighted and lowering it to 3.8.
I think another thing that I heard a lot from students was using the weighted GPA. I don't know if they got that idea from Student Act, but that was something that was brought up repeatedly in Student Act, is like using the weighted GPA. I think the unweighted GPA would be more beneficial from the standpoint of leveling the playing field 100% completely, but I think it's almost too unfair to the individuals who do decide to take those higher level courses. It's a balancing game. And I think that this entire proposal really is an excellent compromise of kind of both ends of that argument. So,
Trying to keep that rigor as well as
Yes,
trying to address
definitely.
the equity and the expanding our circle, for sure.
I think Ms. Judd has something.
Oh, yes, of course, absolutely.
So just in talking about the different bands, we did notice that number was large. We talked about looking at changing the GPA bands, but if we're going to follow the Latin honors, we needed to stick with what the Latin honors bands were. So we weren't able to fluctuate, like changing in the different bands of recognition. That was just my first thing I wanted to mention. And then when we did run the numbers for the unweighted, we did look at that, and it does significantly, and we can share them later if we need to do that. And what we noticed was a much smaller number of students, and students who maybe were challenging themselves in these higher level classes who were getting Bs were not going to make any sort of the level. And so that's where I think we then shifted to the other band. But I hear what you're saying and your concern.
So what I'm hearing is an AP honors student getting a mix of A's and B's might not hit any of those bands?
Correct. So, if they're, and Finn shared this a little bit. He's in AP and honors classes earning Bs. I challenge my own child to take the most rigorous coursework that he can challenge himself to. He typically earns Bs, and those are going to get him 3s. So if he earns straight Bs in all APs and honors, he's not going to make any of the bands based on an unweighted GPA. And so that's where I think that turned the table for us. And thinking about students who were kind of in that middle space, who were challenging themselves to some classes and maybe not taking all CP, and so that's where we landed on that. Do you want me to stay?
No, I'm just going to say thank you for that, because I keep going back and forth because, as we all know, I argue with myself a lot. And trying to figure out what it is that was bothering me about, like, why I felt like it was going to de-incentivize students to take those rigorous classes that are going to actually help them when they do their college admissions in terms of did you take those rigorous classes. So thank you for that clarification. I think it's important to know, because I had 3 children who gamed the system. They did that, like, ooh, if I take this, my youngest decided that he wanted to have a higher GPA than his brothers, so he took a few of those dual enrollment classes just so that he could say, you know.
Well, and we didn't want to not recognize students who were challenging themselves to those super rigorous courses, but weren't necessarily the ones earning the A+ in them. Yeah.
That's also important.
I'll have Ms. Jed provide that information to Sherry, and I'll add into the board report this week, just so that you have those numbers if it's available. She may need more time to pull them back together, but just so that you can see them in a board report.
So with that, I think we're okay with the draft as is? Okay, great. Thank you. We will move on to 5C, which is Board Policy 0500, accountability. Mr. Liu, are you commenting on this one?
Yeah, just briefly, Board Policy 0500, accountability, is a brand new policy to us. And so what we have is exact language from the California School Boards Association's recommended gamut language. The policy reflects recent federal and state updates centered around accountability to the public for the performance of the school district, for both schools, individual schools, and largely for the school district itself.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, we are on to 5D, Board Bylaw 9260, legal protection. I think that's Dr. McLaughlin.
Yep, this is just a straight gamut update, changes in laws, regulations, new guidance, and other directives that may have come out over the course of the last time this had been brought forward to the board.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, we are on to 5E, Human Resources, 4118. Mrs. Ashmore.
This is a gamut update on a policy that establishes parameters both for the district and the employees regarding certificated employee discipline for either unprofessional conduct or unsatisfactory performance.
Thank you. I do not see any red lights on. Okay, we will move on to 5E, which is board committee reports. Thank you. Any committee reports this week from anyone? I see none. We are therefore on to board comments, and we will start with Trustee Kearns.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our wonderful board meeting tonight. We had a Student District Advisory Committee meeting on October 27th here in this very room. Thank you to CVUSD's Child Nutritional Services Director, Sarah Phillips, for coming and giving an excellent presentation to all of our student DAC members. And she also brought some very exciting taste tests. So we had taste tested 3 different items. So one of them was the famous ham and Swiss croissant, getting more and more famous by the day. And then another one of them was the tikka masala, chicken tikka masala, which was shockingly delicious. The chicken quality was excellent, honestly better than some of the stuff I bought from the grocery store. So, and then we also tried waffle-coated chicken nuggets. So that was interesting. I'll let that one resonate with the audience. Moving on, we had our second agenda item was a new student support discussion. This came from our mental health subcommittee, where they had brainstormed a buddy system proposal for a student doc to discuss about bringing back to schools like campuses where new students would have a buddy, essentially, that would help guide them. And so we kind of wanted to reframe it as to a general, how can we welcome new CVUSD students best on campuses? So we had a great discussion about that. We broke out into little small groups and made posters. Some of the key takeaways were swag bags for transfers, and specifically transfers. And I think rising freshmen already get something similar to this at most schools. But transfer students was a pretty interesting topic, because I think they are kind of sometimes left behind in a lot of the like new student discussions. And so making sure that all of our student tech representatives are bringing back to their school sites, how can we support transfer students? And we, of course, I think our vice chair actually is a transfer student as well, so he was able to provide some unique insight to that experience. Also, more engaging LTAs. I think this also speaks to something greater trying to accomplish this year with STAC is partnering with ASBs, making sure that the discussions that we're having at the student level, at the STAC level, kind of the best practice, if you will, discussions are actually being brought back to the ASBs for the people who are doing the hard work on our campuses and getting students engaged in these activities and making kind of walking the talk, if you will. And then support for transfers. Also, to conclude my comments this evening, I would like to, I don't know if they're still here, but them being here reminded me, I would like to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mr. Solis and Mrs. Dano for helping me kind of get over the finish line of submitting by that November 1st deadline for college applications, and Ms. Harrison for writing me a letter of rec for Georgetown. So thank you, everyone. That was kind of a more personal note. Mr. Solis, every time I approach him and like ask for something, I almost always feel bad just because there's so much work that he does. I genuinely do not understand how he accomplishes it, having to deal with this changing in college admissions landscape and the biggest center class ever, all on his plate, all wanting, can I have a letter of rec? Can I have a letter of rec? And he does it flawlessly and made sure that I got everything I did on time. It was actually one of my earliest letter of rec submitters. So I can't thank him enough. So shout out to all counselors, really, but specifically Mr. Solis. Thank you all. Good evening.
Excellent, thank you. Trustee Sylvester.
First of all, congratulations, Finn, for getting all those college applications. And that's, by this deadline, that's really a great feat. And we eagerly wait to see what college or university is lucky enough to get you. Anyway, good evening, everybody. First off, of course, I want to thank our student reporters for coming, as well as the public commentators we had tonight. And I'd also like to thank everyone who's reached out to me on various topics through email. Just going to talk about a couple of things that I've done in the past couple of weeks. One, very interestingly, attended the CVUSD High School Healthcare Summit. So this was a joint endeavor across our high school students at our comprehensive high schools who are currently on a CTE pathway that has to do with healthcare. And the morning event featured a presentation and a speech by the current CEO of the Los Robles Health System, which was very inspiring. And then there was a panel of representatives from local post-secondary healthcare related schools where they answered a variety of questions. The audience was, I think, 180 students, again, across all of our high schools, who were completely captivated. And I kept looking to see if anyone was sneaking a cell phone, and I did not see a single one. So huge thanks to Dr. Lori Lucker, who was really the one championing this concept, and this has been on her bucket list, I guess, for many years, as well as all the other teachers, such as Ashley Cooper, who also played a huge role. So that was a great event, and I'm hopeful that it will continue in the future. Completely different part of the spectrum, I also went to Cypress Elementary to see one of the tour stops of the Newbury Park High School dance classes outreach event. It was really great to see our high school students stepping up to work with our elementary students, everyone from TK through 5th grade. These high school students managed to keep them engaged and interested. So I have to thank Camille Caroline. Did I pronounce that correctly? Thank you. Who is the Newbury Park High School dance teacher, for coordinating this. I went to one school. She apparently, with her students, and there were 2 busloads of high school students, visited 4 schools that day. And I think her goal for next year is to hit even more. So again, it was a great event, and I think appreciated by the high school students as well as the elementary school students. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Trustee Gill.
Thank you. Good evening. Well, I chose my one activity that I was going to highlight as the same one that Trustee Sylvester did. So I'm just going to do it anyway. Because it's one of my favorite traditions. So a week ago Monday, the week that culminated in Halloween, as Trustee Sylvester said, 2 full buses of Cameo's dance students. And this year was the first time that they visited Maple. That was the first stop in the morning, and I started there. And I caught some work meetings in between, but I still was able to get to 2 schools, Maple and Banyan. And just every year, it brings me so much joy to see the big kids and the little kids interacting, and how exquisitely our high school kids teach the little kids with so little preparation, and they're just so naturally wonderful at it. Just absolutely a joyful thing. I look forward to it every year. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of those high school dancers on stage this weekend in Once Upon a Mattress. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Goldberg.
So shockingly enough, I picked the same one event because it is so good. And the brilliance that is Cameo Carolyn, who I've been a fan of a long time, is that she is mindful of all of her students. And the students that she brought to teach those classes with kids are not her dance team students. They are her just the average class student. Like, there's IB students, there was, I'm blanking. Commercial, thank you. I was thinking construction, I knew that was wrong. Her commercial dance students, and they were the teachers, and you could see how excited they were, and that they got that opportunity was a gift to everyone. And so kudos to Ms. Carolyn, because it just was a joy, as evidenced by the fact that we're all going to talk about it. I also just want to note that this Friday marks not only some great opportunities for sports here in the Conejo Valley, but the 7th anniversary of the horrific murders at Borderline. Tragedies like Borderline force us to stop and take a true measure and focus on our shared humanity. And I think that it's important to take the time to honor those who we lost that day, those who stepped up to help that day, and the collective trauma that has happened in this community since then. But it brought us together, and I hope that we can continue to remember and be one community. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Gorback.
I want to talk about another aspect of the same event. And that is, when Trustee Sylvester and we happened to pull up at about the same time, and we got there, and it was still recess. And there was a small group, I think it was 3rd graders, that was being taught right next to the recess area. And the kids, the students, the high school students, had been so well trained at focusing the attention of the little students that a kickball went over their area, and they didn't even blink. I mean, they didn't move. They didn't do anything. And it was because their attention was commanded by the high school student that was leading them. And I thought that must have taken a lot of training, a lot of teaching how to command respect when there's interruptions. So I just thought that was amazing and wanted to add to that. Also, congratulations to Maribel Reyes, the science teacher at Sequoia. We honored her yesterday afternoon, as Teacher of the Month. That was fantastic. Happy School Psychologist Week. Say hi to all your psychologists and tell them how much you thank them. And happy and reflective Native American Heritage Month. if we had just kept the values that our Native American brothers and sisters had had, maybe our country would, our physical country would be in better shape today. Once again, I look at a bunch of empty chairs right now, but thanks to our student reporters, thanks to our newspaper reporters who are still here. We appreciate them for reporting. The student reporters, your reports are our windows to the to the activities on your campuses, and we so appreciate that. Yes, and then I had a long thing about, even though it's not bully prevention, the fact that the dance kids mentored the other kids, that's the best way to prevent bullying, is to keep that idea of bully prevention going, even though we're past the month. Let's do it all year long. I also was at a fun event at Conejo Oaks Academy. In fact, I went twice. I went for their field day, which again was interaction, mentoring with, in this case, CLU kids. That was fantastic to see the interaction with the CLU kids. And then I went to their dance. That was fantastic. And the other event that I went to last week was the pumpkin. It was reported by Angelina, the pumpkin decorating at CVHS. Again, to see the relationship, to just kind of stand here and watch the interaction between the teachers and the students at this school it's a mutual love and respect. And I just enjoy coming here. And with that, have a good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you to our student reporters and to our student journalists and to all of our public commenters. I think my colleagues covered things pretty well for the most part. I also was at the CTE Healthcare Summit, and you, I think, just summarized it so beautifully, but it was such a great opportunity for students. And again, congratulations to Dr. Looker on pulling that off. I obviously have loved all the Halloween fun that we've been experiencing, including some of the things that have already been discussed. The dance classes from Newbury Park High School, amazing. We had a CDAC meeting this week that was great. Congratulations to Maribel Reyes from Sequoia for Teacher of the Month. And Trustee Kearns talked about the, tasting some foods. We also, we had a board special meeting last week, and we got to try the ham and Swiss, and that was pretty amazing. So it's been really fun to see the nutrition department going around to different schools and testing out some of these new menu items. It's really fun. And then lastly, I'll just share a little bit on the governance front. The Board of Education went through its second ever board self-evaluation process. The first time was 2 years ago, and I don't know when we'll do it again. Although we have committed to doing it regularly. And we had some discussion in that meeting around the phenomenon of what happens when there's pretty consistent agreement of where we rate ourselves, rate the board, especially when it's fairly high scores. How do you nonetheless still have meaningful discussion and reflection and thought about how things are going? And so, regardless of how achieving, I think we all know how, regardless of how achieving or how smoothly an organization runs, there's always room for change and for growth. And so I thank my colleagues for taking the time to engage in that process. And that's it for me. Dr. McLaughlin?
I think it was all covered, so no comments this evening.
Fantastic. We are on to 6A, future board topics or activities. Does anyone have anything they would like to add to this list that is slowly growing? I do not see anybody jumping with any additions, so we will therefore move on to adjournment, and we will adjourn at 7:58 p.m. Thank you, everybody.